Hey. Welcome back to Hard Truths, the podcast where we get real about what's holding you back and what you need to do to move forward. And today's truth: waiting for perfection is ruining your progress. This might be one of the things stopping you from reaching your goals, from building the business you dream about to creating the life you want. Not failure, not rejection, not lack of talent, just a constant hesitation, waiting for the perfect time, the perfect plan, or they say, or the perfect version of yourself before you start. But let me tell you something. Perfection is a lie. It's a safety net your brain creates to keep you comfortable. And every time you wait, every time you hold off, every time you tell yourself, I'll do it when I'm ready, you're letting life pass you by. So today, we're going to break this down. Why we fear imperfection, what science says about action versus overthinking, how the most successful people in the world embrace failure, and why the people who get ahead aren't the smartest or the most talented. They're just the ones who start. Because here's the hard truth. If you're not willing to take messy, imperfect action, you'll spend the rest of your life watching others pass you by. So why do we do this? Why do we hold off on taking action, even when we know what we need to do? The answer is simple. Your brain hates uncertainty. Psychologists call this action paralysis, where your brain would rather do nothing than risk doing something wrong. And this comes from the part of your brain called the amygdala, which controls fear and survival responses. Back in caveman days, hesitation kept us alive. If something was uncertain, like eating new plant or exploring a dark cave, waiting could mean the difference between life and death. But today, that same hesitation is killing your success. You're not going to die if you launch your business before it's perfect. You're not going to die if you post that content before you have it all figured out. You're not going to die if you take the first step before knowing every detail. And yet, your brain treats these things like life or death situations. That's why most people stay stuck. Because their brain is wired to fear the unknown. But here's where successful people think differently. They don't wait to feel ready. See, Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn, once said, "If you're not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you've launched too late." Think about that. The founder of $1 billion company is telling you that if your first version isn't a little messy, you've waited too long. And this applies to everything, not just business. If you're waiting to be in perfect shape before you even start going to the gym, you'll never go. If you're waiting until you're 100% confident before speaking up, you'll stay silent forever. If you're waiting until you have the perfect plan, you'll keep planning while someone else out there is executing. You don't need perfect. You need momentum. I once had a really smart manager. He was impressive, both technically and personally. He had this way of simplifying complex problems, seeing through the noise, and focusing on what mattered. There was this project I was working on, and I wanted to catch every edge case, every possible permutation. I wanted to build the perfect system, one that accounted for every scenario, every possibility. I kept tweaking, adjusting, fine-tuning, but the more I analyzed, the more I realized that because the system was so vast, I wasn't sure of the unknowns, And that fear of missing something, it kept me stuck. I was so obsessed with making sure everything was flawless that deadlines got pushed again and again, until finally my manager pulled me aside and gave me one of the most valuable lessons I've ever learned. He said, "Danny, don't let perfect be the enemy of good." That hit me hard. He explained that trying to get something perfect can stop you from delivering something that actually works and can be improved upon over time. And he was right. The best systems, the best businesses, the best ideas, they don't start perfect. They start good and get better. That was my wake-up call. I wasn't behind because I lacked ability. I was behind because I was waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect solution. And once I stopped waiting and just started, everything changed. And if I'm being real, I wish I started this podcast way sooner. So let me ask you, what are you waiting on? Because if you don't start now, when will you? Imagine you're at a train station. You're standing on the platform, waiting for the perfect train. The one that's clean, fast, and takes you directly where you want to go. But that train never comes. Meanwhile, other people are hopping on whatever train that shows up. Some take a longer route, some make mistakes and switch trains, some get lost. But guess what? They're moving. And you? You're still standing on that darn platform, waiting for perfect, watching everyone else leave. That's what waiting for the right moment looks like. Success isn't about picking the perfect train. It's about getting on a train and adjusting along the way. So how do you actually break free from perfectionism and start moving? Here's what you need to do. First, set a deadline to start. If you don't pick a date, you'll keep pushing it back. Be realistic. Focus and think. Start before you're ready. Number 2, focus on progress, not perfection. Done is better than perfect. Version 1 is better than version none. Third, expect mistakes. If you aren't making anything wrong, if you aren't doing anything wrong, you're doing it wrong. Instead of fearing failure, embrace it. Mistakes mean you're in the game. Lastly, ask yourself, what's the worst thing that can happen? Most of the time, the answer is nothing bad at all, realistically. Now here's the real question. What are you going to do about it? If you're still waiting for the right moment, just know this, you're already behind. Someone else with less experience than you is already taking action. They're learning, they're growing, they're winning, while you're still waiting. So here's my challenge to you. Pick one thing you've been putting off and take action on it today. Not next week, not when you feel ready, but today. And that's it for Hard Truths today. If this message hit home, send it to someone who needs to hear it. Tag me at Danny LYVIN and let me know. What's that imperfect action you're taking today? Because here's the truth. Perfect is an illusion. Action is everything. And the people who win, they don't wait. They start. See you next time.